everyone, I'm Mind, and I just got another issue of the LEGO Ninjago Magazine. This month's issue comes with a Climber Lloyd minifigure, which is probably the best promo we've gotten in a while. Climber Lloyd's of course a very important character to get because he's one of the main characters of Dragon's Rising, but this suit is exclusive to a $120 set. But obviously a like $5 to $10 magazine is significantly cheaper than $120 for a full set, so I think it's awesome that if you live in a country where these magazines are accessible, you can now get this guy significantly easier. However, I'll talk about the actual minifigure more at the end of this video. For now, let me remove him so we can take a look at the actual magazine. With the minifigure removed, here's a full look at the cover. It says, LEGO toy, Lloyd plus massive double katana. LEGO toy, super strong and super long. Alright. Rogue Shock, tame them. We have an advertisement for the comic, and it looks like Kai's getting swallowed by a fish. That's that's interesting. Attack of the Ravenous Creatures. And then we also have two posters. So let's open this up and see what it has in store. Oh, my boy's here, Griffin Turner. First though, of course, we have an advertisement for the Climber mech, which has been their ad as of recently. It's actually up to date, which that's cool. In the past, they would advertise like 2 waves prior, and then they went through a phase where they were just advertising other LEGO themes instead. But yeah, Climber mech is up to date with when this magazine came out, though obviously they should switch to the summer wave pretty soon. But yeah, forget about all that, Griffin Turner is here. Griffin Turner is probably my favorite of like the non-ninja elemental masters. Speed isn't even my favorite element, I just love his design, I love his personality in the show, and I really hope we see him again sometime soon. But yeah, this is what they've been doing recently is the Master of the Month. They're recapping just different elemental masters. Name, Griffin Turner, element speed. This guy has speed in his blood, in his legs, and in his head. He rarely thinks twice, which is not always an advantage, and is usually 1 step ahead of his opponents. Or 5, or 10. And he is never without a pair of sunglasses on his face and a shuriken on his belt. Very, very cool. I love seeing him again. Besides that though, it's just a table of contents, so let's turn to the next page, and this is the bio page on Lloyd. Lloyd, Green Ninja, the legendary hero, continues to struggle with his role as master in Season 2 of Dragon's Rising. He has serious doubts about his ability to train Aaron and Sora to become ninja, but giving up is not an option for Lloyd. Nightmares. Lloyd is also constantly plagued by dark visions. Since absorbing the powerful energy of the Source Dragons in Season 1, he has involuntarily been able to see into the future. Preparations. When Lloyd allows them to follow the instructions in the nightmares, the ninja travel to the Master Dragons Egalt and Ruune. The training is really tough for the heroes. In the end, they master the Rising Dragon technique. They're pointing out that the double-bladed katana is almost 3 minifigures long. That is really over the top and obnoxious for a minifigure weapon, which is exactly what I want from these magazines. I love when they go over the top with the weapons. The actual design here doesn't seem too crazy, but I'll talk about that with the minifigure. Here's the little game where you have to match up each of the Lloyd suits with like their descriptors. That's actually kind of cool, because a lot of times we just get new suits without any purpose to them, so assigning some sort of purpose I actually kind of like. And then of course there's the instructions to build the minifigure. Then turning to the next page we have Resistance of the Wolfpack. Woo! I'm sorry about that. Okay, it's just 4 different games related to this picture. There's some green Ryus in here, which we've seen in previous magazines. I love them, though. I wish they were real. But most importantly, let's take a look at this. Hello. Very interesting. That is a new Wildfire face. That's been one of my biggest criticisms in the recent sets, as Wildfire has been stuck with only one face print. And potentially, they might be showing us something we may get in the future. The magazines have done that before. It's not very often, but every now and then they accidentally put something from the toys in there we haven't seen yet. Alternatively, sometimes they show us things that were supposed to come in sets and then just didn't. For example, there was like the Twitchy Tim minifigure in the magazine a little while ago that was supposed to be in an actual set, but never actually got released. However, unfortunately, I think this is probably just a design for the magazine. It is interesting to look at because normally when they like modify a character's expression, they don't change the eyebrows, they just change the actual expression. And looking at the Wildfire minifigure we have right now, her eyebrows don't do that. So that's like a point in favor of it maybe actually being something, but I think most likely, yeah, it's just an edit for the magazine to give her a different expression. Still really want a new Wildfire face though. Hopefully though, if we get one, it's a happy face for her, because yeah, this is a different expression, but it's still an angry face. We already have an angry face. I'd like to see something actually new. Anyway, let's get back to the magazine. Turning to the next page, here we have a Spot the Differences game where Jay has to keep track of yaks. And this is what I mean about what they do with the faces. The smile and the eyebrows are from a real J face, but they edited his eyes so that he's squinting. Wildfire's obviously a bit more different than that, but even still, I think it's probably just an edit. But yeah, spot the differences, figure out what's different between these two. And then there's a coloring page for Cinder and Jordana. Turning to the next page, ooh, interesting, we have a comic that takes place during the training with Egalt and Ruune, and it looks like Wildfire is going to be a significant part. I'm actually super excited for this. Of course, as always, I'm not going to read the entire comic to you guys, but feel free to pause the video and read it for yourself. And if I notice anything especially funny or interesting, I will stop to point it out. Okay, so far this seems similar to stuff we saw in the show. Wildfire's upset she can't train. Aaron's struggling a little bit with his training. Curious to see where this is gonna go. Okay, this is cool. They're venturing out into the forest. We didn't see any of this in the show. And Egalt's like chopping down trees so they can ride on them. I love how Egalt's illustrated in this, because he's more similar to a show appearance than a set appearance, but they made him look really, really cool. The people who illustrated this did a great job. Oh, and I like how they actually used the sword that's on the back of his tail in the set. I don't know if we actually ever saw that in the show, but obviously, yeah, he's using it to cut the log in half here. But now coming to the next page. Uh-oh, Aaron hit a rock and now he's flying off his log, and this is actually the break in the comic. So, turning to the next page, we have Escape from the Dragon Dungeon. Cole has been trapped in Rapton's Dragon Dungeon, no! Okay, this is a cool game. I've seen things like it before. Cole starts here, Rapton starts here. Cole can move between 2 and 4 spaces depending on how you roll a Lego brick. That's funny, they use a Lego brick instead of a die. And Rapton can only move 1 space, and Rapton has to try to catch Cole before Cole gets to the finish. That's actually a lot of fun, I like that game. And then we have the posters in the middle, and from the front of the magazine, these actually look really, really cool. So first we have this one that just says Ninjago Dragons Rising on the bottom, and it's got the official art for Lloyd, Kai, and Nia in the center, and Egalt in the back. This is almost really, really cool. The only thing I don't love is these just official set images that they threw in the back here. The art styles are just really clashing for me, because obviously these are really beautifully illustrated, same thing with Egalt in the back. But then these are like actual photos of the sets. The Wolfmask Shadow Dojo works okay, it's still not perfect, but at least the color scheme matches so it like blends into the background. The Dragonstone Shrine though, I don't know, it feels very out of place. It does feel like an actual PNG of the actual set just slapped in there, and that's a real shame. There's also the Rising Dragon Ninja at the top, which is fine. I think it would probably look better without them, but they're so small I feel like they don't really take away from the look too much. I do like that there's no unnecessary text on this though, it just says Ninjago. This is probably one of the better posters they've done. I just wish there wasn't official set images, and it was either illustrations to match with everybody else, or even screenshots from the show would probably look better than this. The clashing of styles just usually isn't the best. But then turning it over, I love this. This is really, really cool. Zane is my favorite ninja, so I'm a little bit biased here, but wow, the colors on this are awesome, the graphics are awesome. I love how like Zane's like running and the ice is coming up around him, and then it's sprawling up around the dragon too. Those colors pop so much. I think this is my first time seeing this full render of the ice dragon too. And again, simple, straight to the point. It's a Zane Ninjago. Nothing else. There's no like ice power or like awesome moves or whatever they normally do. I don't like to hang these posters up because they have like little staple marks in the middle from being in the magazine. But man, if those weren't there, this is one I would definitely hang up, because the graphics just look incredible. And even small things like the blue stroke around Zane, that makes him pop out of the page a lot more. And everything feels so cohesive. It's all the same art style, which is a very good thing. This is so, so cool. Genuinely might be one of my favorite posters they've ever done. I love that a lot. But now back to the magazine, we have 2 more games right here. We have On Target and The Quest. The Quest is just a word search, it seems. You have to find all the ninjas' names. And this is another game that we see all the time. You have to figure out who hit the other 3 times first. So you follow each of the lines to track it. That's cool, it gives you a little something to do. And then of course when we turn the page again, we are back to the comic. Okay, Aaron's actually okay. He uses his grappling hook and lands back on his log. But uh-oh, now the big fish is here to try to eat Kai, but Kai got away. That's good, I was worried Kai would not get away, and this would be the end of Kai. Okay, this is cool. We're getting an Aaron moment. Lloyd's encouraging him to use a Spinjitzu when he seems to be successful so far, but let's turn the page and see if he actually was. Oh, he is. Okay, cool. Alright, and Nia uses her powers to help them get away, and they report back to Egalt. This was a pretty good comic. I enjoyed it. I like the comics that feel like they could fit into canon, but definitely don't need to. This one probably actually doesn't, because Aaron successfully did Spinjitzu here, and obviously that did not happen very much in Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 1. But I feel like they've gotten a lot better at writing the characters recently. Like, a lot of these lines you could actually hear these characters saying. And I love seeing Egalt. The illustrations on him are great. So honestly, really good comic all around. Very satisfied with this. And that is the end of the comic, but it's not the end of the magazine. So now we have Learn from the Best. And this is basically summarizing the use of Rising Dragon technique. It talks about its appearance in Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 1, how Kai learns it and then the others learn it. Nothing all too new or exciting here, but there's some good info. I also love this art of Kai. I think I have seen that somewhere before, but that's cool. I like the stylized version of Rising Dragon technique. Turning to the next page, we have Heroes Never Sleep. Okay, this is kind of neat. They're summarizing all the different like gimmick techniques they've had over the years. Obviously Spinjitzu, then Airjitzu, then Forbidden Spinjitzu, Spinjitzu Burst, Dragon Form, and now Rising Dragon technique. Also cool detail, they're actually finally calling it Dragons Rising Season 2. The past few magazines have referred to it as like Season 18 or something, which obviously not how we're numbering things anymore. So I'm glad they finally fixed that. This is cool to see all that laid out though, I like that. Here we have a little advertisement for the Dragon Flyers, but it's also 3 different mazes. Here you have to figure out which of the Egalt silhouettes matches this picture of his face. Then turning to the next page, We have Big Ryu, Big Flight. Here you gotta match these to like the empty squares. And then here we have Lookalike Alert. And this is sort of like a Where's Waldo type thing where they count how many of each character are in the scene, and then they have some questions at the bottom. That's fun. And then finally we're at the end of the magazine. It seems like they've cut out the ads in the middle of the magazine entirely. I appreciate that, it gives you more actual content. But yeah, this is the second magazine in a row where the only ad was at the very beginning and it was for a Ninjago set. Normally they advertise like the Minecraft and City magazines in here. I'm glad though, it makes this more concise. You're not just paying for advertisements. But I guess speaking of advertisements, this is kind of one. This is an advertisement for next month's Ninjago magazine, and this is very odd. It comes with the Spirit of the Temple. That's strange for a few reasons. Number one, why? I'm not against it, because he is like a somewhat rare figure. He only comes in a $100 set. But number one, he only appears in the show for like half an episode, and he's a cool character, so if you don't have that set, like, if you really want this guy, this is going to be a great way to get him. And he is a really cool minifigure, but there's so many like important, exciting characters that we haven't gotten yet. And also, that guy's from 2 waves ago. We just got Climber Lloyd in this magazine. That guy's from June last year. So yeah, I'm not against this. Like, it is cool to have a cheaper way to get this guy. I'm just surprised now of all times is when they're going back to the Spirit of the Temple. Maybe he's going to tie into the comics somehow? I'm not sure, but I'm curious to see. And I wonder what minifigure they're going to do after him. And then finally we have one last game at the end, and then I don't know what this game is called, but I definitely know there's an official name for what this game is. But basically you split up the cards between 2 people, and then you each like flip over cards one at a time, and if you both have the same character, you have to try to grab them before your opponent does. So if we turn this over, we can see what the cards actually look like, and it's just cards of a bunch of the ninja. There's those wildfire faces, and actually there's one other new one here, but unfortunately I think this pretty much confirms, yeah, they were just made for the magazine. Because there's the face that she actually has, it's there, there, and there. But then that's a new edit we haven't seen before, it's like Smiling Wildfire. That's a bit weird, it doesn't really look like her from the show, but honestly a lot of the ninja don't. I would not be against that being an official face print, though I would like something a little bit better. That's the one we saw earlier in the magazine, and this one's similar, but it is a little bit different. But yeah, the fact that there's 3 faces we haven't seen, obviously there's not going to be 3 all-new face prints introduced that are leaked by a magazine super early. 1 possibly, but definitely not 3. So yeah, at least some of these are edits, and I think probably all of these are edits. Sora does have an interesting face here too, I think we have seen that one before, but that's just her angry face with a smile edited on. Aaron seems to be mostly the same. Same thing with Jay, nothing new here. Zane's got a very interesting, like, scared face. I wish that was real. That's super expressive. I love that. But that seems very edited. And then Cole seems to be all official stuff. But yeah, good game. Anyway, that's about it for the actual magazine. So now let's take a look at the minifigure, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts on everything, including whether or not I recommend this at the end of the video. So here's the Climber Lloyd minifigure, and I guess we could start by talking about this absurd weapon that he's holding. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I really love the big over-the-top weapons that they get in these magazines. They always include weapons that you would not see in just regular retail sets, and I think that's a lot of fun. That being said, I think this one might be taking it a little too far, because I mean, come on man, this is just impractical. It's very easy to modify this if you want to make it a little more practical, just take one of the blades off, or remove the green parts of the shurikens and just have a double-bladed sword. But yeah, this is very silly and over the top. The actual pieces are nothing too interesting, like very common Ninjago parts. I guess the transgreen cone pieces are a little cool, but the rest of this weapon you could probably build with parts from your own collection. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite weapon we've ever gotten in one of these, but still definitely very unique, which is what I like. So I'd say that's still a positive. However, this one does not need the weapon to carry it because the actual minifigure here is phenomenal. I talked about earlier in this video how great it is to get this character for cheap because of how important he is to the show, but beyond that, it's also just a really good looking minifigure. The Climber armor pieces are the most detailed armor pieces we've ever had in Ninjago. This one's dual molded in gold and dark green, and there's room around the back to hold katanas. By the way, Lloyd does still have 2 katanas in the magazine as well, so there's a total of 4 in the polybag, which again is absolutely absurd. But hey, more is better, I'm not against that. And with those removed, there's a better look at the actual figure. I love that he's still using the bright green. I will say there's a bit of a harsh transition between the hood and the mask piece. I feel like that doesn't flow the best. That probably would have looked better if they were all the same color. And I'm not the biggest fan of the lime green on the belt. I feel like lime green on top of bright green just blends way too much. The dark green with the bright green looks fantastic, but yeah, they probably should have used a different shade for the belt. In the official art, he has a red belt. You can actually see that in the poster that we looked at earlier in the video if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I guess something changed in development where it went from red to lime green, and I think that's a major downgrade. But even with all that being said, I still quite like this minifigure. The Source Dragon symbol in gold in the corner is really cool, and I like that the ropes are gold too. It definitely makes it feel like he is in climbing gear while also still giving him those Ninjago vibes. There's a very subtle diamond pattern in green at the back. You can see it a little bit on the legs too. And I always love when they do things like that. It makes the suits feel extra detailed and extra textured. And here's a look at the full face and torso print with the mask and armor removed, as well as the back torso print and alternate face. The back torso print I actually think looks better because there's not as much of that lime green. And back around front, I think the lime green actually works pretty well as the undershirt because it's not surrounded by the bright green, but the lime green belt is directly on top of the bright green. And those two just don't go together well. And there he is all armored up with the dragon power eyes instead. I know there was a lot of criticisms in there, but I do genuinely really like this suit. Definitely not my favorite of the Climber suits, but I think the Climber suits as a whole are a fantastic suit line. And of course, this is one of the 3 that's exclusive to a $120 set. So just that in the first place makes this amazing to get. I'm super happy this guy was included. So overall, would I recommend this magazine? 100%. I think this is one of the best we've had in a while. Because this magazine hits every single aspect. The promo is great, the posters are great, the comic's pretty good, and the games seem fun, all things considered. Obviously for me, the main thing I care about is the minifigure. I like the comic too, but the main thing I'm buying these for is the minifigure. And I think for most fans that's going to be the case as well, because the minifigure is the most important thing. That's where the value of the magazine comes from. But yeah, this minifigure is fantastic, as I mentioned. So important to have a cheap way to get this guy. So if you don't have the Wolfmask Shadow Dojo yet and you can get this magazine, I recommend you pick it up before it goes away. But if you are interested in the posters or the games or the comic or anything else, all that's really good this time around too. So yeah, 100% if you're a Ninjago fan and you can get this magazine, I recommend picking it up. Just a great value for your money and a really good minifigure to get. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought of this magazine in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And go check out all the Summer 2024 Ninjago reviews up right now on my channel. I've reviewed every single set from the new wave, and I've got some other content involving them up too. But as for this video, I think that's about all I got to say. So thanks for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!